Hey guys, so I'm really sorry for missing last Tuesday's class. But today we're going to start with what we need to see. Okay, guys, this week we're going to be working on the speaking section. We're going to start with the speaking section. You probably already seen something yesterday, right? Can you tell me what you did yesterday with Jasmani?
Independent.
Well, actually, I can.
Okay, you couldn't join, Carlos. So, Natalie, you did the independent question, right? Did you get to see the structure? Did you practice a bit?
Yes, we did.
Okay, you got to practice too?
Carlos wasn't in the last
Okay.
meeting. Yeah.
But Natalie, did you practice?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Okay, good. So I'm asking because I want to see what we're going to be seeing. So maybe we can review a bit for Carlos too. Basically, starting in general with the speaking section, this section has a total of 4 questions. It has 4 questions that you're going to be answering, one of which is the independent question. That's the first one that we'll do, the first one that you guys already seen yesterday, in which you're going to be giving your opinion about a certain topic. So let's see. Okay, let's start to this. Okay, so in the independent question, remember what you had to do is, first of all, they give you a question, right? They ask you something and they always give you 2 options, or sometimes 3, but 2 or 3 options. And you have to choose one of those options and explain why you have chosen that certain option. To choose one and support your decision. The important thing to know is that after you hear the question, they give you your 2 options, you will have exactly 15 seconds to prepare your response, and then 45 seconds to answer the question and speak, okay? The most important thing to say is that you always have to choose one of the sides. You can never waver between the options or hesitate or say that you don't have an opinion. You need to make sure that you choose an option and then you need to support it with your life. Basically, I'm sure maybe you've seen this. In your response, you need 3 basic things. In order to have a basic answer, a complete one too, you need first an introduction in which you directly answer the question. So if they ask you, do you prefer phones or text messages? In your intro, you need to answer it right away. So I would definitely say that text messages are way more effective than phone calls. That's your introduction. You needed your reason, one reason at least. So you tell me since, so why text messages are better. Since, I don't know, you don't have to reply right away. You have enough time to think of a response and then reply. So that is your reason. And then you also needed an example, right? So you need to give me an example of that. So for instance, yesterday, somebody or one of my students texted me about something related to the TOEFL test, and I honestly didn't know the answer. So since it was a text message, I could look for the answer online, and then I could reply with the information that I had. If my student had phoned me, then I probably wouldn't have known what to respond. So that's your example. And that's it. That's all you need, right? Those are the 3 basic things. Now, of course, if you have more time and if you want to do it, then you can have one more reason, your second reason. So add something else. You say, furthermore, with text messages, I don't know, maybe you can say, communication is usually more effective because you don't speak based on the emotion of the moment. So you're just adding that reason. If you still have more time, you can explain it. If not, that's okay. And if you still have more time, you can also go with a conclusion and say, well, those are the main reasons, or this is the main reason why I love text messages so much. So that was basically, right, your introduction, your reason, and an example. In case you have extra time, you can go with a second reason and a conclusion, but that's completely optional. So I want to know, you've probably seen this, but I want to know if you have any questions so far, anything that you've been struggling with maybe yesterday that you'd like to see today. So what do you think about this task? Any questions, any comments? Okay, guys, perfect. Then we'll start right away looking at some things. We're gonna start trying to answer one question and then looking at a sample response and see what we can extract from it. So could anyone please read this question here? Could anyone please read the question?
Do you agree or disagree with the following sentence? We can learn a lot from making mistakes.
Okay, thank you so much, Carlos. So that is going to be the first question we do. Starting now, you will have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. So you can prepare now. Okay, so time's up. Is there anyone who'd like to try? Does anyone want to try? Go first. Maybe Sarai, do you want to try?
Okay.
Okay, you can go.
I strongly agree that we can learn a lot from making mistakes because we can learn about the things we do with them, because if we don't do it, we don't get that experience that we make, even if we get a mistake from that. It's important to know that we try it and that give us a learning about it. So I think that mistakes can give us some kind of apprentiship.
Okay, yes, they give us knowledge, right? Okay, good, great. So your response was really well explained. You had different, well, you had your one reason, right? We learn from the past, we learn the things we learn from the things we do, and maybe we don't repeat them. We have more experience, and you develop that response. My advice, I think what you're missing is an example. It is really important to give details and examples. From now on, you're gonna notice that all of the questions have always something like, support your response with details and examples. Look at this, support your points with specific examples and details. So you need to give examples or details on some sort of evidence supporting that. Maybe you can talk more specifically about something. You can mention maybe how kids learn or how students learn from their mistakes, or maybe how you yourself learn from something, from a mistake you made. Okay, try to always give examples. That's the only thing I'd say. Anybody else wants to try this one here? Okay, then what we're gonna do is I'm gonna play you a sample response. I want you to listen to it and we're gonna analyze it together. So pay attention, don't take notes, just pay attention to what this person said to answer that question.
I totally agree that we can learn a lot from making mistakes. First of all, we always remember how our past mistakes made us feel, and since they usually make us feel really terrible, we try to avoid repeating them so we don't feel that way again. We also take deliberate action to avoid it. For instance, last year before my big science midterm, I made the mistake of playing video games all day long. As a result, of course, I failed the test and I felt miserable. But I learned from that it's very important to study and to prepare for tests. So the next year, during exam season, I buckled down, I studied, and I learned a lot.
Okay. What are your thoughts on that response? What do you think? And please, guys, don't forget your cameras, Carlos and Sarai. So the first thing I'd like to say is that it's totally okay if you don't have a response like that. He basically used the entire 45 seconds. He didn't hesitate, not even once. He didn't make pauses. He didn't use filler words. He didn't make one single grammar mistake, right? So that's something almost impossible to achieve. He probably prepared. I'm sure that he didn't spend 15 seconds just thinking about this, right? He probably had more time. He maybe even read his response. So it's okay if you don't have something like this, if you don't speak this way, totally fine. But maybe we can talk about some things that we can try to have in our responses. Okay, we're gonna see. The first thing I'm noticing is that it has the structure we talked about, right? The simplest structure that there can be. You have a short introduction, about 7 seconds. I totally agree, we can learn from making mistakes. It has one single reason, right? We learn from them because we remember how they makes us feel and we don't repeat them. So that is your reason. Hang on. Okay. And it has one example as well. Only one example, right? About this mistake of not studying. So one example. It meets what we said, right? It doesn't have a conclusion. It doesn't have a different reason. It's just one reason, one example. So I'm just showing you this so that you know that you can have a good score, a good response without saying too much, right? Without trying to have too many reasons and so on. Now, maybe we can analyze it. We can break it down, right, to see what we have. So in the introduction, he says, I totally agree, we can learn a lot from making mistakes. The first thing, and this is something that Sarai also did, right? He's using these adverbs. I totally agree. Sarai said, I strongly agree, I think. So try to always use them. They are really good to show that you are sure of what you're saying, to make your argument even stronger. So you can say, I strongly, I totally, I absolutely, I certainly, definitely, right? Those are some. Definitely. So try to make use of those. Now, another thing is he's repeating, right? He's not saying something different here. He's just saying we can learn a lot from making mistakes, which is exactly the same he said here. Now, if you remember, vocabulary was part of the rubric, right? Vocabulary is one of the things they're looking at. Does this person have enough, like a wide range of vocabulary? Is it appropriate to the task? So he's not showing so much vocabulary there, but I would say it's okay. It's okay to repeat the prompt because it's only a portion of the entire thing, right? It's only 5 seconds there. So it doesn't really say anything about vocabulary. Now, of course, if these were longer, then you can maybe try to paraphrase it to summarize. Sometimes you have longer prompts or questions. In those cases, try to paraphrase them. Maybe something general is always saying, you know, I totally agree with the given statement, right? With the given, with the mentioned, with the previous statement. Whichever you find best. So those are some options. Instead of the verb agree, you can also try to maybe have some alternatives. You can say, I totally support that statement, or I'm in favor of that, or I agree with that claim. So there are many things you can do for the introduction. Now, in case you have, do you prefer this or that, a preference type of question, maybe you can always say something like, I would definitely prefer, you know, definitely prefer. And if you don't want to repeat the options, you can say the former or the latter option. And this is great for vocabulary. It sounds really good. So the former option is the first one, right? If they ask you, do you prefer chocolate or candy? You say, I prefer the former. That means I prefer chocolate. So you can also do that if you have preferred questions. And you don't want to repeat, right? That's something you can do. So that is for the introduction. Now, what else? In terms of structure, another thing that they're really looking for is the structure you have, how it's organized, and if your ideas are connected to each other, if you're able to show that those relationships among ideas. So he has a lot of transitions, doesn't he? He has, first of all, can you see any other transitions he's using? What else? What other transitions does he have?
For instance,
Good, for instance. What else?
As a result,
as a result.
Anything else? There are two more.
So and but.
Yes, perfect. So I'm back. Those are transitions still. They're not that formal as the first ones, but they're still transitions. Okay. So try to always use those transitions. Believe me, it's all about practice. You need to practice and you need to kind of realize, first of all, with a template, right? You need to use a template in the beginning. So you're always going to say, first of all, and for instance, let's say, right? And then you need to try to add more. So every time you say things like, so, but, because, and, you are going to try to change those for something more formal. So first of all, for instance, and as a result, are pretty good. They show vocabulary, they show complex vocabulary, and they give the response structure. But and so, they could be better. So can you guys think of synonyms for but and so? What else can this person say instead of but and so?
But could be, however, nevertheless.
Great, perfect. So yes, but can be however and nevertheless. What about so? Need synonyms of so?
Therefore.
Good, therefore. Can we think of one more? Maybe thus, hence, as a result is actually another one. Those are some. So you need synonyms for but, so, and. Maybe you can say there are many for and, right? In addition, also, furthermore, moreover, whatever you want.
Consequently.
I'm sorry?
Consequently.
Good, consequently for so, right? Consequently, yes. Perfect. And also, what is the other one? Because. What can you say instead of because? Instead of because doesn't sound so. As a result, is it the same though? No. As a result expresses result, right? For example, you say, yesterday it rained. As a result, I don't know, I brought an umbrella. So you bringing an umbrella is the result of the fact that it rained. So as a result is for a result, but because it's actually the opposite, you do the other way around. So you say, I brought an umbrella because yesterday it rained. So you're explaining the cause, right? Not the effect. So because maybe you can say since, as, for, due to the fact that. My suggestion, memorize 2 for one of these words, only 2. So choose the ones that you like better. And every time you say one of those, well, first, you need to record yourself. So you identify the ones you're using and try to change them. It doesn't matter if you already said them, correct yourself and you're gonna get used to it. It's all about getting used to it and practicing. So especially, the because, you're gonna use it a lot here. Because I think, because I think, because I think. Try not to say that, try to say since and leave the I think. So we're gonna try to do that. Now, transitions, right? That's another thing, having ideas connect. What about vocabulary? How would you evaluate this person's vocabulary? Is it maybe complex? Is it casual? Is it, like good enough for this type of response, academic? Anything you see? One thing I really find interesting is that he has good synonyms for the adjectives. My best advice, if you want to get better in your vocabulary real quick, you should start by looking at adjectives. Okay, adjectives are going to increase your vocabulary by a lot. So for example, check out some synonyms for good, for bad, for important, for positive, negative, for happy, sad. Those adjectives basically describing maybe emotions, describing, surprised, annoyed. If you check out some of those adjectives, you're gonna find that it's kind of gonna improve your vocabulary real fast. And also yes, it's all about adjectives, right? Because you're always gonna say, I like messages because they're easier, they're faster, so check out synonyms for easy, for fast, for good, for bad. That's really important. So in this case, for instance, this person says, our past mistakes makes us feel really terrible. So he's not saying really bad. And then he says, and I felt miserable, right? So it's the same word, same adjective, different words, okay? He's not saying sad or bad, he's using more. You know how he says it's very important? So he could also say it's essential, it's key, it's of paramount importance. So you can look for some adjectives like that. What else? He has one reason, but it's well explained, wouldn't you say? It's very well explained. And as for the example go, it is a personal experience, right? You have many options for your examples. You can have a personal experience, which is a good idea if you're trying to earn a top score. If you want more than 26, let's say, you should definitely consider giving a personal experience in the past. So there was this time when I did this. You need that in order to get a 26 or plus, because that's gonna allow you to show more grammar. You're gonna use more tenses, for example, right? I don't know if you noticed, but he's using not only the simple present, but all other tenses as well. He's saying, I made a mistake, I failed the test, I learned, and it's correctly used, right? He's not struggling with the tenses. However, you need to be really careful about this. If you guys notice that because you're trying to give personal experiences, you're making more grammar mistakes, then don't give personal experiences. I've had many students that struggle with this. They try to give personal experiences, but they are not careful enough with the tenses. They mix them. They are like, yesterday I made a mistake and I studied. I failed and I learned. So you're like mixing the tenses and it's not gonna help. It's actually gonna make your score lower. So if you're gonna use personal experiences, you need to make sure that you're, okay with the grammar. If not, it's totally okay to have other types of examples. You can have one in the simple present. It could be personal too, but not in the past. You can say, every time I make a mistake, I don't know, I write it down in my diary so that I don't forget. So I'm just using the simple present, right? It's totally okay. Or you can talk about things in general, right? You can say, for example, kids or maybe monkeys learn by making mistakes. They learn that when they do this, they shouldn't repeat it. So everything's in the simple present. You can go for those type of examples, or you can also try to make up some facts. You can say it's been demonstrated that when, I don't know, when an animal or a person makes a mistake, then and feels bad about that, then it's, I don't know, 50% less likely to make the same mistake. So you're kind of making it up. It doesn't matter if it's not true, as long as it makes sense, right, with what you're saying. So give examples. My suggestion, always give examples, okay? So I think that would be it. Do you have any questions about this response that we just heard? Is it okay? Do you have any questions? Okay. So that's one type of structure. You can have others as well. For example, let's do this one here. Maybe, Carlos, can you please read the question for us?
Yeah, sure. Do you think it's a good idea for children to help their parents with household chores and as soon as they are old enough? Use details and examples in your response.
Good. Use details and examples. So now you'll have 15 seconds to prepare your responses. Start preparing. Okay. Now, does anyone want to go? Here's a stopwatch. Just try. Maybe Natalie?
Okay.
Okay, you can go.
It's my firm belief that we're supposed to support our parents in the household chores because they made some efforts for us in the past, such as paid our studies or something like that. So I think it's at least what we're supposed to do for them. So I strongly believe that is necessary for our parents.
Okay, well done, Natalie. I really like the way you speak, very calmly, and also very, in an academic setting, it does look very formal. So great. I really have no comments. One thing I noticed is that you were able to finish your first reason and example, and you still have 20 seconds. So maybe next time you can try giving 2 reasons, if you can think of something else. One more reason, and well, the conclusion is not necessary, but try to give one more reason and see how it works, just to try. If it doesn't go so well, then you can just go with one. But maybe try with 2 reasons too. I like your template. It's my belief. You didn't say exact, for example, but you used such as, and then you gave examples too. So those were the details. So I think it was great. One thing for grammar, supposed to, you always need the verb be with supposed to, right? So we are supposed to help them. So you always need the verb to be before supposed to. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, guys. Anybody else wants to try this one here? Okay, then let's try a different one. Maybe Okay, now text message. Here. Do this one here. Okay, so the question says, instead of phoning friends, okay, no, not that one. One of these. Sorry. All right, now we're good. The question says, there are many different approaches to academic studies, and all of them have specific benefits. Do you prefer to study for tests in a group or to study alone? Include details and examples to support your explanation. And you'll have 15 seconds to prepare. Okay, so who would like to try now? Maybe Sarai?
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
I really believe that I prefer to study alone because when you study alone, you can study the things that you prefer and the information that is for it's specific for you. In my case, when I study in a group, I tend to get dispersed with the persons I am with, and sometimes don't get the real information I need to for a test or for a work I want to do.
Okay, good. Great, I like your strategy. That's actually something you can do. So you had your reason, you had your intro first, right? I prefer to study alone. You had your reason because, try not to say because, you say since. Since you can study the things or the specific, the things that you prefer, the information that's useful to you. And then you had your example, right? You said, in my case, and your example didn't exactly illustrate that, but you contrasted it with the other information, right? So on the other hand, in my case, when I study with other people, then I get distracted and I don't really get the real information that I need. So I think that's great. It's another strategy too, to contrast the information with the other option, with why the other option is not a good one. So great, it was well explained. I think for you, it works one reason. You're able to explain it well. So you can stick with that one reason. Careful with the grammar, irregular plurals. Person doesn't exist, right? When we talk about singular, one person, one individual, we say person. And when we talk about plural, the plural form is people, right? So when I study with other people, I get distracted. Great. Any questions? Okay, then let's do another one. Okay, maybe. Okay, this one looks interesting. All right, the question says, do you prefer to run or to walk when you exercise? Illustrate your argument with reasons and supporting details. Let's see, you have 15 seconds. Okay, So Natalie, maybe?
Okay.
All right, you can go.
If I were forced to choose one, I would choose run because that makes me feel less stressed. When I go for a run, I can feel free and also can forget my problems. So I could change my behavior and change my attitude. So for that reason, I would choose run over walk.
Okay, great. Perfect. I really like the way you started. It's actually one of the suggestions I was going to give you. So here, hang on. So ideas for the introduction, by the way. So that second conditional you use, it's a really good way to start. You know, if I were forced to choose. So it's a second conditional, it shows good grammar. You can say I were forced to choose if I were to take a stand. That's really cool. You had your reason, you explain it. Maybe I'd say that you can make it a bit more personal, more detailed if you were to give an example. So don't forget that. But I think everything else was great. And if you're adding more and more information, you know, like you're saying, you are less stressed, you forget your problems, you could change your behavior. Try to add transitions in between, right? In addition, when I go for a run, I usually forget my problems. And then what's more, so try to use those transitions.
Okay.
Great. Okay, guys, let's see. Let's try another one. Okay, here we have. And by the way, Natalie, I forgot one thing. Careful with gerunds for grammar, okay? When you say, I would choose running, right? Instead of run, right? Choose walking. I would prefer walk. Careful with those ing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, guys. So here is the other one. It says some people like outdoor jobs, such as park rangers, construction workers, or sport coaches, but others prefer to work indoors, like accountants, lawyers, and doctors. Which type of job do you like? Give some specific details to support your response. So outdoors or indoors jobs. Let's see, 15 seconds. Okay. Now, Sarai, you want to go?
Okay.
Okay, you can go.
In my case, I would prefer to work indoors because it's more comfortable and you can be in a really peace place. For example, in my case, what I'm studying needs to be an indoor space. So I have to get used to that type of work. I think that that type of work gets you a more peaceful life and you can meet some other people who work indoor with you.
Okay, good. So you sort of had another reason at the end. You can also meet more people. Good. No comments except that maybe those details, right? Maybe try to be a bit more specific. So if you're mentioning that it gets you a more peaceful life, it's more quiet, more comfortable, give me an example. You can take one of these, right? So, okay, hold on. So you can take one of these that they, what's going on? Sorry. You can take one of the examples that they gave you. I think you have, for example, park rangers, construction workers, sport coaches. So maybe you can take one of these and talk about it. So you can say, for example, the sport coaches have the chance to do this, or maybe make something up, right? My best friend works as a sport coach and he loves it. He's constantly telling me about how joyful it is to work with nature. So try to always maybe a bit more specific. Okay. Maybe that, but it was a great response, I gotta say. So let's go with this one here now. The question says, some students choose to attend a university close to their homes so they can still live with their parents, while other students attend a university far from where they live. Which do you prefer? Include some examples and details to support your answer. Let's see. Okay. So maybe Natalie. Okay.
It's my firm belief that is not necessary to live without parents to have freedom. So for this reason, I think it's okay if I live near to the university. So one advantage could be you don't have to get so much money for the university because you are living with your parents. So for these reasons, I think it's the best option.
Okay, great. Complete response. You had 2 reasons. And I like the way you started. It was different, innovative. We started with your reason. I believe it's not, you can have freedom while still living with your parents. Therefore, I think it's okay. And then you had another reason at the end. Great, pretty complete response. I guess I don't have any comments. I would like to hear an example, but still, I think it was well developed, even without the example. So great.
Thank you.
Now let's hear another one. Let's see, perhaps here. So what do we have? This one goes, okay, it says, some people like to watch action movies with violence and drama. However, others prefer to watch comedies. Which type of movie do you find more entertaining? Give some specific details to support your response. Let's see. Okay. So, Sarai?
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
I totally prefer to watch comedies because I can watch this with whatever people I want, with my family or sisters or people who is underage to watch movies with violence and drama. I think drama and violence sometimes it's disturbing in life, so it can make you feel bad about it. And comedies give you a break, side of the life, and that's why I would prefer to watch comedies.
Okay, good. Great, Terry. So I think that's going to be kind of your thing, right? Your strategy. You kind of compare them both without mentioning advantages and disadvantages, but you stick to your opinion. You tell me the good things about the first, good things about your option, the comedies, and the bad things about the other one, the shortcomings about movie, about violence and drama. So I really like, maybe you can try to add to your response instead of and to compare them. You know, comedies are like this, and violence and drama movies are like that, maybe you can consider adding some words, check them out, especially if you're gonna do this. Something like maybe while, so while comedies are this and this, while, I don't know, action movies, right? There, action movies have this and that. Whereas, that's another word, on the other hand, to compare them. So you can try to introduce those words to make your comparison even stronger. But I really like it. Well done. Okay. Let's go for another one. Okay. So in this one, we have some people like to vacation at the beach, whereas others prefer the mountains. When prefer to go to the mountains when they are on a holiday. Which do you prefer? Include some examples and details to support your answer. Let's see. Okay, so Natalie, you can go.
I totally choose mountains over beach because I love to hike. It's my best option when there is or there are holidays. So I prefer to be in a mountain because it's quiet and you can sleep in the ground. So for this reason, I believe that it's better to sleep in a mountain.
Okay, all right, hold on. So in this one, something I've noticed, maybe you were repeating your position too much, right? So you were telling me in the middle, it's my best option to go to the beach. I always prefer to do this when I'm on a holiday. I prefer the mountain because, so we're kind of repeating it too much. Try to always have that in the beginning as your intro, and then focus more on the reasons. That's the most important part. So if you're telling me that you like it because you like to hike, and maybe you can try to give an example, right, about that time you went hiking. Or maybe if you're saying that you can sleep on the ground, kind of explore that idea and tell me how, or the things you can do, right? So if you're saying you can sleep on the ground, you can talk about looking at the stars, stargazing. So try to elaborate more your ideas and focus less on your position. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let's do one more. This one here. It says, what do we have? All right, this one here says, do you prefer to go to bed earlier at night, around 9 p.m., or do you like to stay up until 12 a.m.? Provide specific details to support your explanation. So let's see, you'll have 15 seconds. Okay. So Sarai, you can go now.
I fully prefer to go bed early because it's a better way to save energy for the next day and not to be tired. In my case, I have to be awake too early, so it's better when I go to bed early, and it's better for the body. It helps to be more healthy.
Okay, good. Careful with those comparatives, right? But it makes you healthier, right? Careful with those. But great. I really like the way you speak. If you're adding a second reason, don't forget your transition in the middle. So you have your intro, your first reason, your example, and if you're gonna have another one, transition, and then your second reason. So yes, I have no comments. I like that you were giving an example. So you're saying, in my case, I have to be awake very early. Maybe you can explore a little bit more that idea. So tell me what you have to do or how you need that energy, right? So you can tell me, and when I don't go to bed early, this is what happens and so on. But overall, great response. Good grammar tool. Just those transitions, those comparatives. But well done. Guys, I think you both, I really like the way that you both speak because it doesn't look like you're nervous at all. You speak very calmly. Still, I would try to maybe stress some parts a little bit more, give it a bit more emphasis sometimes, and tone it a little bit more. But I think it's great the way you're doing it. You're really nailing it. I don't know if you have any questions about this task. Is there anything that wasn't so clear, or any questions about the speaking? Questions? Okay, guys. So please, I'm sending the daily service. Today we need to complete 2. And by the way, I wanted to say, we're not going to be able to make up for the class we missed on Tuesday on Monday, because it turns out that tomorrow's a holiday, right? So you won't have class with Just Money tomorrow, which means you'll be making up for that class on Monday with Just Money. But don't worry about it. We will make up for the class we missed on Tuesday, but we will have to do it next Monday. Okay, so I don't know what date it is. Sorry, I'm going to send the other one as I'm looking at the date. So we're going to have to make up for that class on Monday 25. Okay, that's going to be the day that we're going to make it now. On Monday 18th, you'll be having class with Just Money. On Monday the 25th, you'll have class with me. Is that okay? Is it okay with you guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So thank you so much. I'll see you next class. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, you too.
Thank
Bye.
you, you too.